Hey class, I thought I would make you a couple videos to kind of introduce you to some of the statistical software we're going to be using. Look like from your skills assessments, everybody seemed pretty comfortable with SPSS. So I'm going to try to make a little introduction video for both Stata and R. So this is my video introduction to Stata. To access Stata at the university, you'll need to go to the Apps at UT website. Here's a copy of the website address up here. You can just Google Apps at UT, and then you'll access them, log in with your ID. Go to statistics and data mining, and they have both Stata 14 and 15. Either one of them will do what we need. I have a copy of Stata on my computer, so I'm going to show you kind of from there. When you log into Stata, it looks sort of like this. You have a window over here where all of the commands you've used before will be. Here's where you can type your commands in the window. When you load a data set, it'll appear, your variables will appear over here along with different properties. To get started with Stata, Stata uses what are called their syntax file or scripting file. It's called a do file. You can create a new do file by just clicking on this little icon here, and you can see it's just a notebook to type in your so you can just type in, it's basically a syntax or scripting window. You can highlight it, and you can send it then to Stata. Let's see, to get you started, I've made an example do file here that we'll show. And I'm going to post this also on Canvas, so you'll have it. So just kind of be a brief introduction into Stata. Let me see if I can put these, share the screen here somewhere. Well, that doesn't look good. Let's see. So comments in Stata, you can start with an asterisk, or you can use a couple backslashes for block quotes. You can use a backslash star, and it'll comment out everything until it sees the next star backslash. I kind of already talked about Stata calls it syntax, scripting files, do files. So you see it'll end in DO. To be able to save a record of what your save a record of your Stata output, you can use what they call a log file. And then you can just create a new log file, and then you can decide to either replace the log file with what all you're doing, or to append it. So if you append it, if you run something else in it, it'll just tack it on at the end. Replace means it'll write over the whole file. So right now I have it replacing the one that I just made. Okay, so here we go. To open a data set, you use the use command. So you say use, and then you give it a location of your data file. The clear right here is saying to clear out any other data set that happens to be in memory. You can work with multiple data sets in Stata. It'll just open a different session of it. So let's run these. Let's open our data set and kind of look at it in Stata for a minute. So we ran that, and then you can see here, it doesn't look very nice because I smushed the window up. But you can see it prints out your comment. You want to log using this file. It's saying that's where it started. This is the date it was opened. And here's here's the data we're using. So we can see here, it loads up so we can see information about the variables in our data set right here on the side. We click on it, we can get some information about it over here in this window. If we were to type in a command here, so we wanted frequencies on, let's say, this drafts item, we can say tab, drafts, hit return, and you'll see the command will show up here. When we run it in a do file, it just prints out the do file command. But so it's better to type your syntax in a syntax file and then run the analysis from there. So then you have a record of it, or else once you end your session, you'll lose all those commands. For those of you who are more familiar with SPSS, this is an excellent resource from UCLA. It's basically, how do I do this SPSS command in Stata? And it's actually really, really great. So it'll list, files here. It'll say, oh, I know how to do an ANOVA in SPSS. Here's the corresponding Stata command. The commute command in SPSS is actually 3 different commands in Stata. If you're wanting descriptive statistics, Stata calls that summarize. Where, frequencies we were just talking about is tabulate, or you can use tab for short. To open a data set in SPSS is get file, it's use in Stata. So it's just a nice resource to have, especially if you're, more familiar with SPSS. This will give you some hints as to what's going on in Stata. Let me open back up. What was that old do file? We don't need it anymore. Here we go. All right. So, to run frequencies in Stata, we can use the tabulate or tab command for short. And it's very important to note that variable names are case sensitive in Stata. So with a capital A ask quest, we'll return an error if the variable's name is actually lowercase ask quest. So watch, let's run this. Let's open our data set. Variable ask quest not found. Look here, it's lowercase. Where in SPSS that wouldn't be a big deal, in Stata and in both R, they're both case sensitive. So that would be a different variable. Now, if you're running a long do file like this, and say we ran, let's run all of this, it's actually going to stop where that error is and not continue. See how it didn't get tabulate the actual ask quest command. So you'll need to pay attention if you're running a long file. So let's run. We can get our frequencies for the ask questions. Boom. So you can see never, sometimes, often, very often. So the questions, ask questions, are contributed to course discussions in other ways. Around 2.5% said never. Around 37% said very often to this item. Descriptive statistics, we can use the summarize or sum command. Let's run that and we'll see. Boom. There we go. So we can see the average response was about 3. So, on average, people said often to that question. See the standard deviation, the minimum and maximum values. To generate a new variable, it should be equivalent to what the compute statement is in SPSS. You can use the gen or generate command or theegen command. They both do stuff a little bit different. And so you can kind of see here, to get more information about what they do, you can type in help egen and run it, and a nice help file will pop up. So this is an extension to generate. You can generate what kind of variable. So we won't focus on that right now. But you can see, like, I want to generate ask questions 10, which is just the ask questions variable times 10. And then I want to tabulate it. We'll run that syntax. And we can see that basically just multiplied each one of the values by 10. So instead of 10 here, or 1, we get a 10, where it was never. But notice the frequencies are the exact same between them. So we can use the egen to center the variable at the grand mean. So look, so we're gonna, generate the average of asked questions, which would equal the mean of the asked questions variable. And then we're gonna center it. So we're gonna make a C asked questions, and it'll be asked questions minus average asked questions. We'll run frequencies on that variable and get descriptive statistics on both of them. So let's run that. And then you'll see that's what happens here. It prints out the syntax, what we've done. There's the tabulation response. You notice the frequency counts are still the same as they were above here. So all we're doing now is just centering the variable, right? So, a 0 would represent someone who's at the mean of that item, but it's only 4 responses, so nobody's actually at 0. So now you can see here, the mean is basically essentially 0 in this instance. With this is, written in scientific notation, so we've moved this decimal point 7 places over here, so it's practically 0. You see the standard doesn't do anything to the standard deviation. We center a variable, and you see it changes the minimum and maximum value there. One thing I really like about Stata, it has a really excellent help system. I think the help files are actually helpful. So a lot of you probably have experience with SPSS's syntax reference guide, which I think is very cryptic and can sometimes not be very helpful. I think Stata has a great help system. And all you have to do is type help in the name of the command. I'm not sure how to do it. You can even type help and then a word that you think might be related to the command, and it'll search the help menu for anything with that in it. So let's run help, and we want to get some information on how to run a Chromebox Alpha in Stata. So we know the command is called alpha, but we don't know, how does the syntax work. So we'll type help alpha, and you can see here, syntax, you do the command alpha, and then give it a variable list. If you have any if statements, you can put them in there, and then any options you can, like, if we only want to select certain groups of respondents, we could type in if gender equals male or something, then we'd only calculate the alpha for male students in that instance. And then you can see the different options that are available in for this command. You can see where the command is located on the menu. It gives a brief description of the command, and then it tells you down here what each of the options does. It also gives you some examples. You can use their auto data set and run an alpha for all of these items. It also tells you where it stores results. If you needed to use the reliability coefficient in some subsequent analysis, it's stored in this R alpha vector. So you can see that if you need the average item intercorrelations, they're stored in this R mean inner item correlations vector there. So it's actually very helpful. We want to know how to run a factor analysis in Stata. We could do help factor, and then we get information on it. You can get even, the complete manual on factor analysis. Click the button here, and then, it'll give you lots of more information about that, and even gives you, a brief introduction into factor analysis and what it is. So it's I think it's actually very helpful menus. So let's say we were interested in running a Chromebox Alpha. So let's run a Chromebox Alpha on, there's 4 collaborative learning items in the survey that ask students about how much they interact or seek help with other students. We can look at, we can go to our actual data set here and kind of look at, ask help, ask another student to help you understand course material, explain course material to 1 or more students, prepare for an exam by studying the course material with other students, work with other students on course projects or assignments. We might think all of these items sort of fit together, maybe measure some sort of collaborative learning construct. So we want to run an alpha reliability on these items. We could just say alpha and then list the items. And, here we get the number of items in the scale, the average inter-item covariance, and then the scale reliability coefficient. So that's a pretty high inter-item reliability. Well, we want more details than just that. So we can ask for more details and more information about the actual items. Those are a couple of the options we could choose. So we can see here, we see the number of observations within each item, the item test correlation, the average inter-item covariance, and then this is the total alpha, and this would be the alpha if this item, so if we took ask help out of this analysis, the alpha for the scale would drop to 0.7636 is what this is telling us. Here are inter-item covariances. So on the diagonal here would be the variance. That should be the variance for CL ask help, and this would be the covariance between CL explain and CL ask help. And then pairwise numbers of observations. So that was just a really quick run through, kind of introduction to Stata. I'm going to save my do file to Canvas so you can kind of play around with it. Kind of play around with it. Try to start getting yourself more used to using it. And as always, if you have any questions or need anything, shoot me an email or come stop by my office. I'm here. Thank you.